The world is in turmoil once again, and our dream boyfriend is back. We think it's time to girl boss our way through Spiro once more, as today I dive into the much anticipated follow up to one of the greatest games of all time, Final Fantasy X-2. So it's been a few years since Spiro was liberated and Sin was defeated. So what could Yuna possibly be doing? Oh, well, that's that's different. Okay, so I can't play out this scene like I usually do due to the song being played, but I want to break down as much of it as I can because I do find this introduction really interesting. For a start, I'm not entirely sure if the choice to have it start in a theatre for a big crowd pleasing event is a callback to Ten's opening. I get the feeling like it is due to them dangling the love of Ten in front of the fans this entire game, but I do love this intro nonetheless. The song is an absolute banger, and I love the girls being very spy-like in this infiltration. The intro to the new girl Pain is also very cool, and I love the twist that they are there to fight Yuna, which brings its own intrigue and mystery into it. It's a really solid introduction, and it's probably where the game peaks for me personally. So let's get into some gripes, because yeah, my god, I do have my fair share with this game. So, Yuna gets away, and we give chase, leading to a small scene that introduces the Team Rocket of this game, Ormi and Logos. And the thing you may or may not have noticed is just how much worse than this looks than 10. I mean, it isn't by a great margin, don't get me wrong. Most places have the same assets and the same models. In fact, I bet most people won't even be able to tell the difference. But just look at those character animations. Look at Riku's face trying to lip sync to the most basic of dialogue. This is Sonic Adventure's level of bad lip syncing here. Now, I'm not claiming that 10 holds up as this pinnacle of graphics or anything like that, but it is certainly better than this, is it not? Anyway, Yuna shows up to join the fight, showing that she has traded in the white mage staff for something a bit more dangerous. That's right, my girl has gone full hot fuzz and is now rocking the dual Berettas. And I just want to ask quickly if anybody else feels the same as me with this. Because on the one hand, I do love this look and this redesign, I'm not going to complain about that. But on the other, the choice of twin pistols do just feel slightly out of place for me. The most we had back in 10 were ancient looking and shoddily built bolt action rifles and a flamethrower. But here, these custom made engraved twinned pistols look like she stole them from Dante. They feel too modern. Making quick work of Logos and Ormi, the mystery of this second unit is soon revealed.
Persistent, aren't you?
My grid! You give us back Uni's garment grid right now!
Didn't you girls ever learn to share?
Give it back!
Very well, it's yours.
Oh.
But it won't be yours for long, loves.
So I'll get into the whole garment grid side of things soon enough, and I'm not even going to touch the can of worms that this steals somebody's grid to be able to impersonate them reveal implies. What I will say instead is that I really do like the subtle foreshadowing to reveal that this was always a fake Yuna. For a start, when each character is introduced, Yuna's name first comes up with a question mark beside hers. So going back to the garment grid, let's get into some of these changes, starting with the dress phase. Job classes are nothing new to this franchise, but it's often disguised and adapted, and here is no different. You can find many a dress fair throughout the game that will change the girls into that class. You need a black mage, or a white mage, or a knight, or a thief, then perform a quick Sailor Moon transformation, and congrats, you've now got a brand new costume and access to a whole new bunch of abilities. Now this does come with a few annoying negatives that I will get into, but all in all, I do not mind this change. I am no stranger to a magical girl anime trope. I mean, I grew up with Sailor Moon and car captors, and I don't mind them changing things up a little for the sequel. It does fit with the tone that this game is going to go for as well, and actually ties in nicely to the plot of the game. But does it work for me? Well, no. And it's because the overall combat in this game is just god awful. I hate this with a passion. Simply put, there's no turns anymore in this combat, which is fine. You know, more modern Final Fantasy games are leaning more into this with the likes of 15, 16, and hell, I love the Kingdom Hearts franchise, and that is the same. The two big differences there, though, is A, you're allowed to move, giving you the chance to dodge your enemies when you are navigating a menu for a potion, or a spell, or a summon, or anything you might need, turning the fight into something more actiony, which I do enjoy, and B, enemies in 10-2 feel like they are on 5 times speed. Seriously, you have zero breathing room in this game. Look how fast everything is just going on here. By the time you would scroll to the items or the abilities to find anything that you need, the enemy has probably already had about 16 swipes at you. You are under constant pressure, even from the most basic of enemies. I feel like using different moves and spells and items is just not really encouraged here. In fact, you feel almost punished for it, because the game gives you no time to plan out your next moves. It leads to the game's combat feeling brainless, like you were just playing one of those mobile games that just auto fights for you. Spam attack until the enemy is gone. So we beat up LeBlanc, but failed to give chase where our newly returned Dressfair and Garment Grid takes over Yuna, forcing her to dance. On our airship, Shinra, the tech whiz of the team and creator of the Garment Grid, does say that this can happen. Garment grids appear to be created by using people's memories, and those emotions during recordings can sometimes be so strong that they can pass on to the user, making them feel that emotion. Keep that in mind because it will become vital to the story. Two quick things I want to get out the way after this scene. Yes, I know the fan theory about Shinra, and I do not care if it has been shot down by writers and creators. I 100% believe it. For those who don't know, people have speculated that the Shinra that we have in our team will go on to make the Shinra Corporation that is the big bad in Final Fantasy VII. It's fascinating. It makes a lot of sense to me, and I do believe it. The second thing I want to cover, or not cover, I guess, is this guy.
Let's go! Party! Party!
Brother is by far the worst thing to have ever happened to Final Fantasy. He is a blight, a disgusting, reprehensible creep who spends the entire game harassing Yuna, his cousin, need I remind you, and it is all played as comedy relief. But it's about as funny as stubbing my toe after being set on fire. I genuinely wish the worst for him. I wish he was never a thing. He ruins an already bad game for me, and I will not be talking about him for the rest of the video. As thankfully, he's such a nothing presence to the overall story that even if I had no issues with him, I still would feel like I had very little reason to actually bring him up. He offers nothing of value to the story and to the team, as the girls, Buddy, and Shinra seem to do everything. So, rot in obscurity, brother. I hope to never see you ever again. Anyway, a quick run around the ship will give you a basic introduction to the team, both in the familiar and the new. We have Buddy, an old friend of he who shall not be named, and the treasure tracker. We have Shinra, the tech whiz, Pain, the mysterious closed-off hard-ass new girl, and we have the basics of what our new life is. Yuna is now part of the Gullwings, who are sphere hunters, essentially treasure hunters, and I really do enjoy this as a concept. Yuna says that she decided to join when she saw a sphere of Tidus, which, as a little small side note, I still like the fact that they have to refer to Tidus as him or you, not to keep it a mystery of who they could possibly be speaking about because, well, come on, who else would you be talking about? But simply because Tidus was never actually named in 10. You always have the option of putting whatever name you like for him, so this just keeps that going. Anyway, back to my point about the rise of the treasure hunters in Spira, because as you'll see, it has become a very popular thing to do, and it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. It has only been 2 years since Sin was defeated, but you will soon see how the ideology of the people have changed. Their governments and their religion has failed them, lied to them, controlled them. They are desperate to find new meaning. I'll get to their new meaning soon enough, along with the politics, but it is this embracing of relics that I want to focus on right now, as it does say a lot about the people that the only thing that they can latch onto now are relics from the past. Maybe it's because the past relics were persecuted for as long as they can remember, so they are embracing the likes of Machina and other tech as they see that as the new way of the future, or maybe they see it as the final act of rebellion to their former governments. Embrace the very thing that they demanded you not to use. Or maybe it's simply because they are just lost. They don't know what future they can now build, so must look to the past to see what they embraced for them to then copy it. However you cut it, it is a fascinating look into the people of Spira. But enough talk about the spears. What kind of hunters would we be without going out and finding us some? And lucky for us, we got a signal coming from the old ruins in Gagaset, so it's off we go. And I really like this as a first outing. Gagaset was always an enormous location that you got to explore very little of, and this added lore of once the faith vanished, so did the clouds, leading to even more of the mountain being discovered, ruins and all, is such a fantastic touch. As for this first mission itself, it is very much just a movement tutorial, as jumping is now very much a thing. Now I don't really like this, I think the implementation is very clunky, and I also think it looks very clunky, but it's also not something that really impacts my enjoyment of this game, and does add some level of depth to the environment. Now, I may have promised to never bring up you know who in my mini rant before, but I do have to give credit where credit is due. He does have a funny line when we first land. He checks in with the girls just as Yuna has had a bout of vertigo and has nearly fallen.
Yuna!
What's your status?
Disasterific!
Disasterific is not a word. Say disastrous, like the rest of Spira.
Keep moments like this in mind also, because I do want to come back to it when I talk about the overall tone issue that this game has a little bit later on. Right now though, Team Rocket is back, so we have to race them to the sphere, which to me is a bit of a shame, because in this game rushing us to the top, we now get very little time to actually take this place in and explore it. Boxes may have to go amiss, dead ends will have to remain unexplored, and all for these fools to end up dangling off the top anyway. Which is kind of crazy that the girls don't even bother trying to help them, because how are Team Rocket gonna get out of this one? Anyway, inside is a giant crab boss that we take out with very little effort and get the sphere. So let's take a peek at it to see what we worked so hard to get our hands on.
I can't believe I actually got a ticket. What a thrill to be able to shake her hand like that.
Think it's worth anything?
It's not very exciting.
Junk.
Yeah, so this also brings me into quite a big dislike of mine when it comes to this game, and that's the spheres themselves. Like the girls say, it's never anything very exciting. Every sphere you can find and watch all pretty much look like this. It's grainy, hard to see, shot terribly, and usually offers nothing of that much value, which does make me question what exactly they are being sought out for. I mean, what are people learning from these? Did he sell them? But enough questions, because now we have two hotspots for sphere activity, Besed and Zanarkand. So let's start with Besed.
This must be how a runaway feels after finally coming home. This is the first time I've returned to Besaid since my journey began. I'm a little nervous.
I bet. The way you took off without a word.
Yeah, you said it. You caused quite a fuss, young lady.
I really do enjoy our visit to Besaid. Firstly, I like the hesitation Yuna has in coming back here. If you just jumped into 10-2 after 10 without watching the internal calm, this drip feeding of information to catch you up on what has actually happened in this 2-year gap is really nice. Yuna left to join Riku to hunt spheres, finally doing something for herself, but she still hasn't fully changed from the people pleaser that we all know her to be, as this hesitation on coming back to Besaid really shows that deep down, she's still worried about letting others down. I also really like Waka here, showing how concerned he is about being a good father to his upcoming baby-to-be. It's very, very common, but a great area to explore. I love that we also get to explore this without Waka having to be a mainstay in our party. We can simply just keep checking in with him and his storyline as each chapter progresses. I really do like that. We check in with Lulu, who somehow 9 months pregnant and ready to pop any day, can still rock the same outfit she did 2 years ago, with all the 20 belt accessories and all. We show her the Tidus sphere to explain why we had to leave all of a sudden. Then we get this great exchange between them both.
Must be fun, being free to go where you please.
It is fun. I never expected a journey quite like this.
I'm not there, so you can spread your wings?
Maybe.
Huh. You have spread your wings. Well, good luck. But, Yuna, never forget who you are. You're the High Summoner that defeated Sin. There are those who would use that, Yuna.
I'll be alright. I won't let myself be used anymore. Not by anyone.
I really still love the dynamics we have between these established characters. The fact that Yuna can now truly be free for the first time in her life, it's a fantastic arc to explore with her. This isn't a completely different Yuna. We still saw some of her old ways creep back in when arriving in Besaid, but this is a free Yuna, one who is allowed to make decisions on her own, allowed to explore and discover herself, and do things for herself also. I also really like the fact that Lou recognises that she is only able to do this because she isn't with her. And that's not to say Lulu is a bad person who would have tried to stop Yuna from putting herself in danger or being a bit more carefree or anything like that, but it shows how Lou still perceives Yuna. She is still her big sister. Not by blood, of course, but she might as well be. She protected her for a very long time. So it stands to reason how protective she still is of her, even to give the final warning of, be careful, because they are still the people out there who will use your name and influence. So now back to Waka. He does have more of the meaty story here. His parents were briefly mentioned before when he was sharing his concerns about becoming a father. When asked if he had any memories of them or any pictures or spheres, he starts to bring something up before trailing off into his own thoughts. And of course, by morning, he has disappeared to go explore a nearby cave, so we go in hot pursuit. Getting access to this ancient forgotten ruin with a keypad of all things, we find Waka inside, who came here for a potential sphere rumoured to be here. But he is a little reluctant to go in further to see if it exists or not, so we decide to go check it out for him. We clear out the cave to get our hands on the elusive sphere. Ah, another dud, just what I wanted. So why was Waka so reluctant to come and find this dud of a spear?
So, what sphere were you looking for?
Well, it's a sphere of our parents. Chapu said he found it.
Chapu? Oh, your brother!
He was a crusader. Now he's gone on to the far plane. Sin got our parents not long after Chapu was born. We were both too young to remember their faces, you know? When we were kids, we got into a fight one time, and Chapu said, I found a sphere with Mom and Dad in it, but I'm not telling you where it is.
And you never asked him?
I was too boneheaded to let my little brother win. So I went on without asking until I just forgot about it. Then yesterday, talking with you made me think about it again. Chapu used to play in this cave, so I thought maybe he found a sphere here, yeah? But when I came to look, I got to thinking.
About what?
See, I got this picture of my parents in my head, yeah? Like strong and kind. Whenever things got tough, those are the parents I imagined. But their real faces might be totally different, yeah? I think about that, and I'm not so sure I really want to know. I was sitting there trying to figure out what to do, and then you guys showed up.
I love this, as it still shows how much Waka cherishes his memories. We saw moments of this with Chapu back in 10, but here we get to see that explored through his lost parents instead, which makes the cherished memories almost even more valuable, as he had a lot less time with his parents before losing them. He at least got to grow up with his brother. So this conflict of having an ideal image in your head it's a fantastic inner turmoil for someone like Waka to have. Before we tackle our next hotspot, Zanarkand, I want to take a quick detour to a couple of places, Mushroom Rock, Bevel, and Jose, as I need to introduce you to the people that now occupy these areas. You see, I've mentioned earlier how the people of Spira have now started to look at the past to either understand it or replicate it, or so they can build a new future. Well, this search for past relics and spheres have led to splintered faction groups, so let's cover them. The young people of Spira were a lot quicker to abandon the old teachings of Yevon and embrace Machina and technology. These formed into the Youth League. Now, other than the introduction, there's not all that much to comment on with this area, as of yet. Although there's this really strange thing that happens here, where midway through it gets a lot darker. I get the feeling that they were going for a fog rolling in to mask an area you can jump down and explore, but this foggy darkness is just terrible in my opinion. And what's worse is that it follows you into a fight also. It's just ugly and unfun to play through and navigate. Bevel is now home to New Yevon, a faction that is a bit more opposed to all the drastic changes that are happening, which, as you can imagine, is exactly why they are butting heads with the Youth League so much. New Yevon wants to find old relics and spheres to preserve the rich history of Spira, not to embrace it as the new norm. And finally, we have the Machine faction. Found in Jose Temple are mainly an Al-Bhed faction that specialise in sitting on the fence and selling weapons to both sides of the conflict. So, if they aren't really a part of the conflict and don't seem to have their own ideology, what do you do with them? Well, I'm glad you asked. First, we sign up for their digging job, then head over to Bicknell to do just that. Want to see what you'll be doing for hours on end? Yeah, riveting stuff. You think that a faction like this would be the key to finding new spheres, but no. They just seem to be regular Al-Bhed who just went right back to looking for scrap to build Machina after the calm. Now the factions are introduced though, it's time to return to Zanarkand.
This is where we sat, that night. The 7 of us. I've never talked about it. I didn't want to share my memories. I wanted to keep that feeling, this place, within me forever. Now look at it.
A tourist attraction.
I do love this as a concept, taking the most sacred of grounds and turning it into a tourist trap. I'm not going to get into the real life links to this or the social commentary behind it, but instead I just want to focus on Yuna herself in this moment. Getting an insight into her and her thinking is fantastic here, and it is rare that we get to see her this upset. But what I love the most about it is why it upsets her. She doesn't really seem to care about the holy grounds or anything like that. It's them impeaching on her memories that hurt, and I find that to be a much more interesting choice. We do also run into the man who has made all of this possible. Well, one of the two anyway.
I guide people through Xanarkand, once the most sacred of places. People come from all over Spira, sphere hunters too.
Oh,
Ugh, what the heck is Pop thinking?
I can see this is upsetting you. But this is a place of great historical importance for all of Spira.
I know, but still. I never wanted anyone else to stand there.
Yuna?
Nothing. Forget it.
Izaru has teamed up with Sid to create this perfect tourist hotspot in the guise of showing the people of Spira a place of great historical significance. A nice PR excuse, but one I don't think anybody is actually buying. We also run into Passe and his gang of newsies here, the Kinderguardians. Clever name, and one that I only bring up to emphasise just how much sphere hunting has took a hold of the people of Spira, to even a point where children are becoming one. We do eventually bump into Sid, and the girls do call him out in probably the nicest way that they possibly could, by equating what they've done to Xanarkand to the likes of turning their ruins of their home into a theme park. It's tacky, it's disrespectful to all that have come here and died. This does seem to get through to Sid as well, letting us move further in to what is probably the most disrespectful portion of the tour.
You have done well to make it this far, Sphere Hunters. But you will not have the treasure you seek so easily.
So we fight.
If you want the treasure, you must speak the password.
Password? The clues?
Oh, I know! The password is monkey!
Yes, good. Okay, so now tell me, what is the meaning of life?
What? Isaru?
Hey, that sorta does sound like Isaru.
Is that your final answer?
The jig is up! Show yourself, Isaru!
Fine.
So, all that we are simply just showing the people this historical landmark is just completely out the window with this reveal. Izaru is just a full-on shill here, and I wish Yuna and the girls would call him out for it. It worked on Sid, and as an ex-summoner, Izaru should know more than anyone the great importance of this place. And to what feels like the cherry on this whole disrespect is the fact that the sphere we were hunting is only half of one. So we have to head back to the ship with our tail between our legs. It's not long before we get another reading though, and this time it is off to Kilika. Now, Kilika may have been rebuilt and be as bustling as any small port town can be. However, it doesn't mean that they are at any more peace than they were back in 10. You see, Kilika now harbours both New Yevon and Youth League members, each occupying a different part of the island. Now, this brewing civil war is mainly told via returning faces, Donna and Bartello, as throughout the side content of the game, this relationship is tested as both have picked different sides of the cause. I feel like they have missed the mark here though, by not really going into why each picked the side that they pick. I mean, Bartello doesn't really strike me as a rigid man who doesn't like change, but we at least do get to have this as a way to sand down some more of the rougher edges of Donna's character. Now, I still don't like her. She still has a very abrasive attitude in this game for the most part, but it comes across as a bit more obvious this time round just how much of a front that attitude is. Here is also where we meet one of the leaders of the faction, the Youth League's leader, Nuge.
Greetings, friends. An important sphere is hidden in Kilika Temple, a sphere documenting the true history of Spira. We are here today to demand that New Yevon make the contents of that sphere public. Yet, as always, the voice seeking truth goes ignored. My friends, I ask you, why? Because New Yevon wants to hide the truth, just as the temples did before them. I tell you now, This has gone on long enough. My friends, stand with me, and together we will bring the truth back to the people.
Now, if this isn't slightly just fear-mongering to pit his side against the next, I do see where Nuji's coming from here. Hiding information about Spira's past in this post-Yevon climate is a really stupid thing to do, no matter how you try and spin it. However, the scene right after this are the girls saying that they now need to race to the sphere to nab it from the Youth League, and I just have to wonder, why though? If acquiring spheres to share with the people what is found on them is the Youth League's goal here, why aren't the girls helping them? Why are they actively trying to find and steal spheres to just hoard for themselves? In fact, come to think of it, I have no idea what motivates them to do this. Yuna is looking for more information on Tidus, sure, I get that, but what does Riku want? She had this group of hunters already set up and recruited Pain and Yuna, but why? Why is she doing this? Does it pay? Is she just doing it for the love of the game? This, in my opinion, is one of the biggest faults when it comes to 10-2, especially coming from 10, as there, every character felt fleshed out, even down to the smallest of roles, the Gattas and the Luzus. You still had time enough with them to understand their motives and their characters. And here, we still do get that occasionally. I mean, I've already talked about the work done with Waka and how we are exploring more of Yuna, but Riku, a mainstay from 10, a fan favourite, who did have a fantastic character back in 10, gets absolutely zero in this game. Not even a paper-thin reason to be doing the things that she's doing. At least with Pain, she's meant to be closed off and mysterious, and spoilers, we do get to learn more about her, particularly her connections to the new 3 faction leaders. I don't think it's all that very good, and it still offers me not that much to care about her as a character, but it is at least still something. I could have seen a scenario where they use Riku as a development for Yuna. She's super carefree and bubbly and happy, and she's taking to this new Spira really well. She's almost like the epitome of the eternal calm, of this new Spira. So to have Yuna learn how to go from this stoic, people-pleasing summoner into someone who can now have a bit more agency with her own life choices would work here. But at the start of our game, Yuna is already that super bubbly, happy, carefree woman who has took back control of her life. So we never really see her learn anything from Riku. Part of that is still an act, I feel. It's sprinkled throughout that Yuna is sometimes just copying Riku, and her new persona is going to be challenged throughout the game, sure, but having us already start at that point leaves Riku with absolutely nothing to do, nothing to add, and gives her no character development whatsoever. She is now nothing more than another anchor that ties us to 10, so that Yuna wasn't just on a team of completely new characters. As we make it closer to the temple, we get even more reason to distrust New Yevon. Straight away, they lie and say they have no new sphere, which is immediately called out when the sphere is found. And then, they sick this familiar looking guy onto the Youth League.
I had a little something prepared for just such an occasion.
So this may feel like a bit of a pivot, but I want to talk about tone for a moment, because this game can feel all over the place. We have already had moments of Waka discussing his fatherhood concerns, mixed in with terrible one-liners, Team Rocket and all their corniness, and the less said about you-know-who, the better. Needless to say, the tones just clash. How are you this goofy and yet still trying to tackle this building hostile political landscape, civil wars, themes of identity and fatherhood? It just all doesn't gel very well. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for the cringiest scene I have ever seen in video games.
How you like that?
Not bad at all.
Just what do you think you're doing?
Actually, we're sphere hunters.
So?
Goings, let's go! Sorry, Donna. The sphere sphere is ours.
Donna, I may not like you, but here, I am you, girl. Because what the hell are these women doing? I get the Sailor Moon comparisons, but all of that magical girl facade just drips away very quickly when you place it in a scene with other people that are all quite rightfully staring at you like you just popped a brain vessel. This is an active protest. The Youth League was just attacked by their opposing faction. A civil war is brewing. And you three morons come in, pull what you think of these cool, cute girl action poses, then nab the sphere and Naruto run the hell out of there? I mean, what the hell am I playing anymore? How can these tone-deaf posers be the same characters as what we had back in 10? How can they even be part of the same world? Back on the ship, we watched the sphere, and for once, it isn't a complete waste of a find.
You know, you're all I can count on to save Len.
So the Tidus mystery is growing. We still don't know if it's him or where or what he's doing, but now we also have this new name drop, Len. But that's not all we have to take away from this sphere. It's the machina that he is with that also catches the gang's attention, particularly he who must not be named, who, and I can't believe I'm saying this, comes up with a good idea.
So, let's give back that sphere. What do you say?
But we worked so hard to get it!
That thing is uber bad news!
What if we donated the sphere to the study of Sphere's history? That's what being a sphere hunter was originally about, right?
It's a little late to be bringing that up.
Yeah, we already swiped it.
Well, I still don't want it! We're giving it back! Now!
You don't mind?
I've seen it.
It's still pretty shameless to saunter up and give back the sphere we just stole.
We bashiat!
Our reputation is all but worthless if we do that. Our leaders too, no less.
Greedy!
I'm sorry that I had to play another clip with him in, and I'm even more sorry to say that I agree with him here. I still do not understand what our actual function as a group is. Each character acts like they are just pirates. Even down to us now scoring items from chests we loot. They all act like they want to simply plunder spheres and be known as the baddest pirates around. It's childish. And it's also not what we understand Yuna's motivations to actually be. We know she's hunting these spheres to try and get more information on Tidus, and with Riku being the catalyst that started all of this, as she is the one that found that first sphere and brought it to Yuna, she is to be assumed to be in on it to help Yuna also. So why are we stealing these spheres from these factions? And why are we even discussing the pros and cons of returning it? Who cares? Hand it back. Say I've seen everything I need to on that one and just move on, guys. What is even the conflict here? What reputation? We are not pirates. I also have to apologise again because I spoke too soon before. When I said that nothing could have prepared me for the cringiest scene ever put in a video game, I lied. Because what I'm about to tell you is beyond cringe. Bummed out that we are now returning the sphere, the girls need to blow off some steam. So, naturally, they ask Yuna to dance for their pervo cousins and co-workers. What could be more fun than that? Yes, it is as awful of a scene as it sounds, and yes, I am going to play it in its entirety, because if I had to endure it, so should you. It is followed up with a really interesting scene though. First with Yuna embarrassing herself, and no, not by dancing and hum singing more, but by getting worked up about this Len character. She storms off the bed and has this vivid dream. Now, finally, something to actually hook a player in. For a whole chapter now, I feel like nothing has really happened to get a player invested. And I understand that this is already one of those unfriendly to newcomers type of sequels. You do need to have played 10 first to play this game, I feel. But even then, for those of us who have played, nothing's been done to really hook us in. Sure, we have the allure of seeing familiar places and faces to catch up with them, and I think that aspect alone has done a lot of heavy lifting with keeping us playing. And there is a small breadcrumb like mystery of Tidus, but it hasn't really been focused on until now, with this back-to-back whammy, this new sphere, and this dream. And it's the dream that does a lot more for me here, because it gets me to ask some more questions and theorize more. My main thought, obviously, going to, is this what our future is going to be? And it's that driving questioning alone that compels the player to continue, I think. Because it surely can't be the rip-roaring sphere-hunting adventures we've been on so far, or the dynamics of these Powerpuff Girl cosplayers, or, him. We wake up and are thrust into what should be quite a big choice to make. You see, it's all well and good saying we should return the sphere, but who do we return it to? Yuna still has a great deal of influence throughout Spira. She saved the world from sin and granted them the eternal calm. So, whichever side is seen to have a sphere returned by her will then be seen as the side Yuna has approved of. It could sway the vote, so to speak. And this would be a harder decision to make if we had spent any time with the factions. Right now, if a player was to simply just do the main missions in Chapter 1, our impressions of New Yevon would be in the toilet. And I'm not saying it would be any better if you even bothered to travel to Bevelle to meet their new leader, Barreleye, but he's at least charming enough to give his side a chance. This Kilika visit, though, could be enough to just simply write off their whole faction. The game also just offers you no real pros and cons to both sides. The worst we get is this quick snippet.
New Yevon. Well, it's got Yevon in its name. Enough said.
But the Youth League is reckless. They're the ones picking the fights.
And I'm sorry, Payne. What? The Youth League are the ones that are picking the fights? We literally just saw New Yevon put armed soldiers up in the temple to hide the fact that they were looking for a sphere, and when confronted by the Youth League and told to share its information, they stuck a giant golem onto them. So which side is the one picking fights again? Yeah, this is the easiest choice to make by far. And word must have got out about our visit already, as the welcome mat is laid out for our arrival, and we get this scene.
So, did you watch it? The sphere.
Well, you see,
We did.
oh boy.
Forget.
I'm afraid I cannot.
Yuna, don't let him push you around.
Some advice. That thing, the Colossus you saw, is known as Vegnagun. It possesses overwhelming destructive power. It must not be touched. Yet those Yevon fools think they can control it. The Youth League will do whatever it takes to make sure they do not get a chance to try. Trust me, you don't want to get involved.
So it seems that the war brewing isn't simply just over spheres, but are now maybe linked to the machina that we keep seeing in these Tidus spheres. Vegnagun, a said to be immensely powerful weapon that New Yevon seems to be keen on getting their hands on. Also Nuge claims. Our meeting is interrupted, however, due to us being robbed. Who by? Well, none other than Team Rocket themselves. What's weird though, is that it only seems to be the broken sphere half that has been robbed, nothing else. Now, the girls don't seem to then believe that the sphere must be more valuable than they realised if LeBlanc wanted it this badly, and instead just want to steal it back just to get back at them. Like it's more of a pride or honour thing for them. However, there's this nice little insight into Yuna quickly when Pain brings up Vegnagun and New Yevon.
I didn't want to get too involved. Not like when I was a summoner.
And I really do like this. I do. Again, showing just how much of a facade Yuna is still putting on. This whole badass pirate act feels pretend, because a lot of the time it is. Yuna just wants to find Tidus. She doesn't want to fight again. She just wants Tidus. Now, as for the rest of the chapter, well, it starts to drop off here. It all begins with the plan itself. First, talks of storming the chateau to get the sphere back happens, only to be shut down by Shinra saying that we will get our butts handed to us. And I'm sorry, have we been playing the same game? This is LeBlanc we are talking about. We've already defeated them multiple times, and I put down so many of her henchmen. We would very easily bust in, beat everybody up, and get the sphere back. But, okay, I get it, there's a difference between the girls in story mode and in gameplay and action mode, so what is the plan then?
Maybe we can sneak in disguise.
That's it! Yuna, you're brilliant!
So we have to fly around till we find LeBlanc's gang.
Beat them up and steal their uniforms. 3 of them.
That's the plan? Fly around aimlessly in hopes we run into a couple of her henchmen so we can beat them up and steal their uniforms? That's just stupid, and completely relies on blind luck in even finding them. And I do mean aimless, by the way. You have absolutely no idea where to find these henchmen. So the game is encouraging you for the first time to just explore, maybe even pick up a side quest or two. So, with the entire world being available to you right away, it can be a bit difficult to even know where to start with this. Not helped by the fact that some side stuff just simply want you to visit the place one chapter, to then revisit it the next to actually do something there. Very little information or details are usually even given to the player. So let's break down some of this side content. I'll be taking locations and trying to condense down all the basic storyline of each over the 5 chapters. So let's start off strong with the Guado storyline, as I really do enjoy this. With the deeds of Seymour now very much being public, the Guados are now public enemy number 1. Many people in Spira hate them for what they did, no more so than the Guado themselves. They have left their home and alienated themselves away from the people, instead decided to hide away in the dying Macalania forest, to wither away alongside it. It is a fantastic insight into the people and their immense guilt, and even comes with a great redemption in the form of Tremel. I love this. I was not shy about how I felt about Tremel in 10. but seeing him and the other Guado here having to deal with this guilt of siding with Seymour, seeing them reflect on their actions and punish themselves for it, especially Trammell, it's hard not to be compelled by that and to feel sorry for them. It also ties in beautifully with Mount Gagaset. Kimahri is the new elder and throughout the game has to struggle with the future of the Ronso. Many Ronso are still angry with the Guado for the slaughtering of their people at the hands of Seymour and want Kimahri to do something about it, which translates to attack the Guado. Kimahri is reluctant to do so, as you can imagine, which is leading to a lot of Ronso seeing him as weak and potentially in need of a change-up. This again is a great follow-up arc for the Ronso. You understand the anger, you understand the civil unrest in the tribe, and it is a really stressful position to see Kimahri in. Did have a problem right away with it, however, by some of the choices you have to make for completion, as they are just very unlike Yuna, and actively even hurt the cause. Look here, you actively need to pick options like this here to progress this storyline perfectly, and it is just evil. You are forcing Yuna to stir the anger up in the young Ronso like she's some sort of red pill bro with a podcast. And it's just why I have such an issue with these multiple choice answers found throughout. They are either needlessly complicated or arbitrary and random, like the dating side quest or the gambling side quest that I will soon get into with the Calmlands portion. Yet all require such perfect responses that are super strict for completion, so the illusion of choice itself is also very paper thin. The Aurochs have all joined the Youth League, all except Waka, who, with a kid on the way, doesn't want to get involved in politics and had to step down as their coach. So, in steps the new hard-ass coach, Becklem. And if this sounds like 1,000,001 different films that you've no doubt seen, then yeah, congrats. You already know how this entire side quest plays out. Now, Becklem is still interesting despite that fact, as he does come into conflict with Yuna. Very early on, he speaks about how the times of temples and summoners are over, declaring them useless now, which rightfully riles Yuna up. Proving yourself then becomes more of the goal throughout the said side content, even if that sometimes does just come in the form of this shooting minigame. It's not very fun, and it is very tedious, but still very easy to rack up this chain to get the high scores you need also. Now, the Calmlands is home to not just one, but two of the biggest wastes of time that this game has to offer. It is staggering how bad this area is now. Yeah, this whole area is now just one big casino, but without the brick and mortar. Two rival casinos are fighting it out to be the go-to company for the people of Spira's gambling needs, and they need Yuna's help. And I just about hate every aspect of this. Firstly, do we remember back in chapter 1 when first meeting up with Lulu again, where she says this?
You're the High Summoner that defeated Sin. There are those who would use that, Yuna.
Well, this is the type of thing that she was warning us about. Someone or some organisation using Yuna's fame and adoration and influence to push their own agenda and nefarious means. Yet Yuna blindly and happily signed herself up to be the #1 sales rep for one of these two companies. The term ludonarrative dissonance is just screaming at me right now. This isn't Yuna. She wouldn't do this. She wouldn't push gambling onto the people of Spira, let alone actual children. So the fact that this game allows it and enforces it if you are to complete all the side content is just baffling to me. Add on to that the fact that this is just a terrible side quest and goes hand in hand with the second worst side story of the entire game, this guy. So this dad is so desperate to marry off his stay-at-home son that he employs Yuna to play wingman and hype him up to random women throughout Spira to see if anybody is interested. And I say that these two quests go hand in hand only because of how you'll actually be doing both of them. Walking up to certain NPCs now and pressing square will now open up a multiple choice box like this, either for the casino or for you to hype up the lonely son. But the way that these quests are designed are just terrible. You get one chance at selling here, so it is a complete gamble. ironically. There is no possible way that you can know which answer to give which NPC to win them over, and you need a lot of points to beat this quest. For the casino publicity, you need 400 points. The best possible answer you can get with an NPC will net you 5. So, do you see how many times you need to get this perfect? And there's not as many NPCs as you would think. You'd be lucky to find 5 in each location. I speak briefly in my 10 video how it was meant to originally have these online components to it, namely just a help desk or an FAQ for whenever you would get stuck in the game, and I theorised back in that video that I feel like they doubled down when it came to 10.2, craft a problem that would force a player to seek out help, except in this example, I don't think they wanted an online companion piece for this game. I feel like they just wanted to sell you the guidebook. Yeah, you remember them? I only had a handful in my life, but I used to love these things. They were basically just walkthroughs and guides of the games, just in book forms and not that FAQ website that we all used. I'll get more into the necessity later on, but for now, let's just say congrats to Calmlands for truly housing some stinkers. So, Luca was always a bit of a filler city. I've given my opinions on it already back in my 10 review, so I wasn't surprised when it came to the content here. It starts off pretty rocky in chapter 1, with a side quest in where you play Yuna, retelling the events of the introduction from her point of view. But to put it plainly, she just doesn't have a story to tell. She wore a mascot costume so it didn't confuse people as to why there were 2 Yunas knocking about, and well, that's about it. Oh, wait, no, sorry. She handed out free balloons to people also. What riveting storytelling and gameplay. Yeah, this is just a waste of everybody's time. You can also play Blitzball Manager here later on and take part in this awful coin minigame called Sphere Break. A minigame that dares to ask the brave question, what if multiplying was under a strict time limit and less fun? This place is still as underutilized as it was back in 10. I really was contemplating whether to even cover some of these places and side quests, as there's just absolutely nothing to talk about regarding them. A lot of them are just time-wasting fluff. And then it dawned on me, that's what I should be talking about. Because why in the holy hell are these places such a time sink? Such nothing burgers of a location? The Moonflow, Carmlands, Guadalsalam, Thunderplains, Zanakan. The content found in these places are lukewarm to non-existent. But why? What's the point in giving us access to these iconic locations from 10 if you're just going to do nothing with them? And I thought about this for a while, and I think I know where they went wrong. You start with the airship. There's a reason why so many Final Fantasy games only give you access to vehicles and airships later in the game, and it's to make the journey more linear and more focused, whilst also allowing them to use the locales for great story beats and side content. Here though, you are free to roam around whenever you desire from moment 1. So the game does feel a lot less focused. You are simply bouncing from one locale to the other, and locations aren't given that much weight or tied to many strong beats of the story. In fact, most places only feel available to visit simply because it had already existed back in 10. Now, when we do find the free uniforms throughout Spira, we can launch our attack on LeBlanc's home. Sneaking in, we interestingly find none other than Nuge there.
Thank you, LeBlanc.
Anything for you, love.
Now I finally know the location of Vegnagun. Spira is in for a rough ride. Take care.
I like how this can be taken any which way, depending on the side that you want to trust more. This can very much read as Nuge still looking for Vegnagun to get to it to stop New Yevon, or be seen as him trying to get his hands on it for himself. That Spira is in for a rough ride line can easily be taken as a sign of his true self. For whatever reason, the girls then suddenly decide to change back into their regular clothes, not too far into the chateau, which of course gets them caught, leading to more Team Rocket fights, and making me question why I just spent the last couple of hours flying all over Spira looking for these bloody things. They blast off again, leaving us in peace to go and find what once belonged to us, and it all makes sense now why they would go to all the trouble in stealing only half a broken spear. It's because they had the second half. I do really like the design for this thing. The face alone, for some reason, gives me Exodia vibes. LeBlanc says that they stole the sphere for Nuge to run an analysis on it, and the footage seems to have been recorded from below Bevel, leading more credibility into believing that New Yevon are still up to their old tricks. I like how LeBlanc also makes a push for Yuna to actually do something. A very real threat is brewing. She can't just simply keep on playing pirate and just pretend that everything is okay. She should lend another helping hand to Spira if it needs it. Yuna meekly agrees, leading us to actually now be allies with Team Rocket. We launch a full-on attack on Bevel, knocking our way through soldier after soldier, which again, look, I don't want to harp on this, but how are we okay with doing this, and yet felt the need to infiltrate LeBlanc's home? It just makes no sense to me. Anyway, sure enough, right underneath Bevel is a giant labyrinth that just seems to take us deeper and deeper underground. We make it impossibly deeper below, where we start to recognise the area as the one we saw in the Tidus spheres, meaning that we must be on the right track. Well, after a lot of time spent figuring out some puzzles, we do run into somebody.
The gull wings. I was wondering who was there. You don't have to tell me. I know why you've come. You're here to destroy the weapon that threatens all Spira, Vegnagun. Am I right? If it could be destroyed, we would have done so long ago. But Vegnagun must not be touched. Neither you nor Nuge seem to understand that.
You talked to Nuge?
He cannot be trusted.
And you can be?
Touché. Yes, I suppose Yevon has brought that distrust upon itself. At any rate, you need not interfere. Leave Vegnagun to me.
What are you planning to do?
The only thing I can do. Keep those who would seek to harm Vegnagun away. Please leave.
Yuna. Riku. I'm going.
Pain.
What are you doing?
Okay, Barreleye, it is so hard to trust you when you're attacking us like this, but I do get it, and I do like this. As I said before, my big issue with the factions is the lack of, well, anything we get with them. But it works for me here now, as it does get me to ask, who can I trust? Further in is where we get a real surprise though, as we may not have found Vegnagun, but instead...
No way!
What is it?
It's an Aeon!
An Aeon. You must stop!
You want to get killed? We have no choice.
Fight! You have to!
I love the music changes up here as well. It really does a good job of trying to convey how conflicted we should feel during this fight. We thought the Aeons and the Faith were at peace. We killed them all, set them free. So you can really understand Yuna's reactions to first seeing this guy and how upset she is after the fight. Bahamut may be down again, but with signs of a fresh tunnel built and no Vegnagun in sight, this mission has been a bust. And what's worse is that a state of emergency has suddenly sprung upon us.
Trouble, and I mean big time. Fiends are pouring out of the temples.
As if that wasn't bad already, news of Barreleye and Nuge disappearing are also spreading throughout Spira. Things are really escalating quickly. So let's go and check in with LeBlanc of all people next, as with the news of Nuge vanishing, she has not took it all that well. We might as well find her with a tub of ice cream, listening to Celine and watching Bridget Jones here. But it's not her I want to focus on though. Instead, it's the next couple of spheres that we find with Logos and Ormi. I'm just going to sum them up instead of playing them because I truly do hate watching spheres in this game. I mean, look at this. Logos just shot this like 15 minutes ago. Why does it look this ugly? What is with that horrible bad signal effect that they have going on? Who would ever want to watch these spheres when they look this bad? And finally, how the hell did they spot Nuge in this footage? Yep, you heard me right. Nuge was down in Bevel alongside us, but suspiciously never revealed himself. We also get another Tidus tape, this time with him making reference to the 1,000-Year War with Zanarkand, leading us to now believe that this can't really be Tidus. There's no way that Tidus could have found himself 1,000 years in the past for real this time, right? Interestingly, if you do visit Mushroom Rock to offer to help the Youth League, they say that Gipple has already lent a hand, well, Machina, showing that not every faction leader has vanished. A message is also passed along from Gipple, something he told the Youth League when helping them. Do not rely on Yuna. And I do like this. He clarifies by saying we need to stop relying on her strength and start relying on her own, and I am inclined to believe him. Speaking of, we can actually go and visit Gipple at Jose, and he does double down on this. He flat out refuses to let us help him. The reason why I bring Gipple up specifically is because on our first stop, we head back to Besaid, where Becklem is butting heads again, and his solution is to simply burn the temple down to ensure that all the fiends are taken care of. He claims that it's for the safety of the village, but it's moments like this that show the difference between his progressiveness and willingness to leave the past behind, and Gipple's. Becklem has so much more venom behind his words, so I don't trust his desire for change or his decisions to leave the past behind because of the anger he still clearly harbours for it. He doesn't seem to want to leave history behind with lessons learned and a desire to start a better future. He just seems hell-bent on burning it and forgetting that it was ever a thing. That's not to say his idea is bad, and even by the end of the mission, after beating another Dark Aeon, Balafor, even Waka starts to come about to it, but only as a last resort if the fiends do come back. Now, I know I quickly glossed over the fact that there was another Dark Aeon fight, and that's because we get the same story each temple we visit. We have a Dark Aeon fight and a hole where the faith used to be, with a more notable one being our revisit to Bevel, as when we return to where we fought Dark Bahamut, we find this.
Hey, you're late.
If you were on time, then I'd really start to worry.
So much for being missing.
Sure you should be here? The Youth League and New Yevon are crumbling without you guys to hold them together.
You expect too much.
Learn from us. So why are we here?
There's something I needed to be sure of. Vegnagun is gone.
Listen to you. Vegnagun is gone. Are you trying to tell us that since that thing left on its own, Yevon's not to blame?
It's the truth. The thing's more sensitive than its size would lead one to believe. It detects hostility, and in an instant springs to life. Should one even think of harming it, it awakens like a frightened child.
Ha! You did your homework.
I've had 2 years.
Wait, so you're saying that Vegnagun woke up because someone was trying to destroy it? Huh. Who?
Who indeed? I'm a little confused. You came to claim it for yourself, didn't you? But Vegnagun awoke. Why? Because deep down you hated it. Did you come here to use it? Or destroy it? Well?
Both. You probably think that's impossible. You've always been too naive to see. I wouldn't expect you to understand.
Then I hope you don't expect me to trust you either. I believed in you once. When we were training for the Crimson Squad, I thought I'd never find a better friend. But you betrayed that. 2 years ago.
Barrel-eye!
Why did you shoot? Why did you shoot Gipple and me? We were friends! And you shot us in the back! Answer me!
Just calm down. Nuge, apologize already! That's enough! Don't push me. If this is what it takes.
This has turned out perfectly. Wouldn't you agree? Yes, I shot you. You were easy targets. You and Payne.
You shot Payne too?
Why?
Answer me!
I made him do it. He was too weak to resist me.
Nuge?
I don't expect you to present any more of a challenge. Not now.
See, I found that the mind that hates and despairs is the easiest to break. 2 years ago, it was the same with you, Nuge. Seeking your own death. Now you can have it.
Wait!
Stop!
Payne, get out of here!
So quite a lot to unpack here. Our biggest takeaway is the villain reveal. I have brought up already how suspicious Nuge can appear to be if you read his scenes in a certain way, such as his investigation of the Vecna gun back with LeBlanc. So I love that that subtlety pays off here, even if it's not quite what we are expecting, because something is clearly possessing these people, using their hatred and their anger to break them and then take control of them. And now it seems to have Barrel-eye. As a quick side thing though, I love the Payne reveal because it recontextualizes a lot of awkward interactions and scenes she has had with these three throughout. She didn't want to let on that she knew them for reasons we will explore later in the game. And secondly, everyone is very forgiving in this game. Nuge shot 3 of his friends in the back and still managed to go on to be leader of one of the biggest factions in Spira. I'm sorry, if that was me on the other end of the bullet, I wouldn't be saying things like, well, it was just an accident, he didn't mean to shoot us. I certainly wouldn't be pulling a gun on Barrel-eye, the only guy with some common sense who had also seemed to figure everything out during this scene. So with Gipple now gone, presumably to go after Barrel-eye with Nuge, we now have to return to Jose and inevitably step in to handle the fiends. This time, however, after our Dark Aeon fight and hole inspection, the Dark Ixion returns, blowing up and knocking Unit into the hole, leading her into a pretty unexpected place, the Far Plane.
finally found you.
Is that really you?
It is me, Shuyin.
So again, a lot to unpack here, but I first have to say, I really do not like the Shuyin character, and that is mainly down to him being done dirty by the game, I feel. Our entire goal from the beginning was to follow up these Tidus spottings in spheres, to find out what happened to him, where he is, maybe even find a way to bring him back. It's been Yuna's goal, and a goal that a fan of 10 going into this would also presumably have. So, to set all of that up, to have this, is it him, is it not him mystery, to have that dream even, to have all of that crumble away with this wet fart of a reveal. Because no, it isn't Tidus. It never has been Tidus. It's just been some guy that looks like him, who is obsessed with his ex-girlfriend, who we are to assume looks like Yuna. It just takes a lot of wind out the sails a little bit when it comes to enjoying this game's narrative, and the winds weren't that strong to begin with, and it does no favours for Shuyin either, as this is just an impossible uphill battle for him now as a character. The fans wanted this to be Tidus. They want that reunion, not just some guy that looks like him. It does raise some fun theories as to why he looks like Tidus though. My best guess is that the guy clearly existed 1,000 years ago, during the Zanakan Wars, so the Faith could have just very well been aware of him and, whilst dreaming up Tidus, made him look like Shuyin for some reason. I mean, my actual real answer is they just probably wanted to string the Tidus mystery in front of fans to get them to play this game in hopes he comes back, and it also doesn't hurt that they can just reuse the Tidus assets instead of designing a new character, but hey. It's also revealed right after the scene that Shuyin is the very thing that has been possessing people, as when Nuge and Gipple turn up, he morphs back into Barrel Eye. He gives us a vague threat, vanishes, and Gipple and Nuge give pursuit, telling us to look after things topside. And you know how I just mentioned that the Shuyin reveal really takes the wind out of your sails, because we all just wanted it to be Tidus? Well, it appears that the devs are also a bit concerned about that, as now alone, trapped in the far plane and on the verge of giving up, a familiar whistle is heard. Yuna follows it and winds up out of the far plane and back in Bevel somehow. So that Tidus thread, it's still dangling there. There's still hope, I guess. Topside again, Yuna explains to the team what happened, and there's a few things that I want to cover here. Firstly, I like the quick reveal of the dress sphere once belonging to Len. It's been hinted at throughout, as when these strange dreams and feelings have taken over Yuna, she's always been wearing that dress. Secondly, it's this scene we have with Pain as she gets into her backstory.
They gave me these.
They say anything?
No.
I see. They're old friends. The three of them were candidates for the Crimson Squad, and I was the recorder assigned to their team. Yevon created the squad and started training members 2 years ago. It was supposed to be an elite fighting force. The best were to be assigned leadership of Crusader chapters across Spira, but the squad was destroyed before that happened. Most of the candidates died. An accident. The four of us were separated then. Things happened. I don't get it. I was there. I saw everything. But still, I don't know why it happened that way, even now. So I went to look for some answers.
You became a sphere hunter.
I always did want to fly on this thing anyway.
What you talking about? Or is it another one of those secrets? That's all right. I didn't want to know anyway.
Too bad. And I was just about to tell you.
Really?
Too late now.
We Pimmo.
We used to laugh like this once. The four of us. I've been chasing my past for so long. Sometimes getting it back is all I can think about. Other times, I just want to forget. What about you? Shuyin isn't who you thought, is he? No. Maybe we should both let go of our past and focus more on what's to come.
I really love this scene. I feel like it's the very core of 10-2's themes. If 10 was all about death and coming to terms with it, 10-2 is all about life and living it to its fullest. What do we do when we have achieved what we thought to be our life's purpose? And what do we do when the love of our life dies and yet we have to still continue on? It's a perfect theme to explore with this game, and I do think they handle it, especially with scenes like this. Payne's backstory is so simple, yet we now truly understand her driving force. I love the end pivot also, as it reflects how both women may seem on the surface like they have no purpose, but both were so heavily linked to their pasts that in a way, it kind of stifled their growth. They both need to learn to come to terms with the past, and then a new purpose, a new lease of life can come about for them. So, as much praise as I've just given, I now really need to rant about something. It starts with us now being told to check in with the comm spheres that Shinra had installed in the previous chapter. And this system alone, oh my god, I hate it so much. I already hate the sphere footage as it is. I hate the bad aerial effect, the general bad quality and the bad camera angles. But now we have this huge chunk of side content tied to it, as the entirety of this chapter's side content is cycling through every sphere, making sure we witness every interaction and watch every scene play out. And you have no idea how many scenes or interactions can be found in each area. So you are just expected to keep booting up the same sphere in hopes that a new one plays out. But on top of that issue comes with the added annoyance of some scenes and interactions only being triggered when you are positioned or focused on super specific places, or you not even knowing when a scene or interaction is actually finished. Take some of the ones from Gagaset, where the entire scenes can simply just be watching a Hypello in the hot springs. When do we back out? Your guess is as good as mine. So why do we need to do this? Well, you don't. I do. And it'll be for something that I'll cover closer towards the end. For now, what are the gang going to do? The three leaders are missing, Vegnagun is loose and being controlled by Shuyun, we assume, and the Youth League and New Yevon are getting so paranoid that the other is going to attack whilst they are leaderless that both sides want to preemptively attack one another. The world is on the brink of civil war. What could we possibly do in this dire situation?
Sing campfire songs?
Oh, that is it! All of Spira will be the captive of Yuna's singing, dancing!
Great idea!
You have got to be kidding me. Yeah, so as well as having the worst side content in the entire game, Chapter 4's story is you putting on a concert for the people of Spira. It's just overall a terrible chapter and a complete waste of time. Even if I do really like the song at the concert, I'm sorry, if there's one thing I can't knock, it's the game's soundtrack and songs. A thousand words just slaps, what can I say? However, it adds such a huge issue I have with this game, and it's not just the tone shift that I've covered, but it's the stakes. Sin in 10 were the only stakes that you needed. It was an unstoppable, destructive force of nature, and throughout, it was not only talked about with such fear, but you were constantly running into reminders of it. You could see its destruction for yourself with the likes of Killiker and Operation Mihen. In 10-2, sure, we hear a little bit about Vegnagun, meet some guy called Shuyun who we assume is controlling it, but we are so unbothered by the threat that we just let some other guys handle it while we put on a pretty concert. Just how am I supposed to feel like there's an actual threat out there when we are doing everything in our power to avoid taking on the threat? We haven't even seen Vegnagun do anything. Most people don't even know it exists. It's just a so-called fabled powerful machina. In fact, because of that, Riku's first instinct is to say, well, if it's a machina, can't we just take it apart? And she's probably right. Albed do that stuff all the time. I do not believe that this weapon and this Shuyun are a threat at all. Spira feels more in danger because of the ongoing civil war between New Yevon and the Youth League than it does Vegnagun. And as we're about to see, all it takes is a pretty song to smooth that situation over. Now, obviously I can't play the scene in full, once again copyright, So all you get is more hum singing cringe, I'm afraid. But I promise that the song is actually good.
It's almost time. Do you think people will show up?
You betcha! The Thunder Plains will be packed. But what are you gonna sing? Wow, did you write that?
Len materializes and shows how her and Shiyun's story actually happened. And as it turns out, it's the dream that Yuna had. Len was a songstress 1,000 years ago during the Zanakan War. She also happened to be a summoner, knowing that it was only a matter of time before her and the other summoners were sent onto the battlefield to help their war efforts. Her lover, Shiyun, took it upon herself to save her, even if it meant having to use Vegnagun. His efforts were stopped, and as we saw in the dream and in this performance, both lovers lost their lives at the hands of Bevel. And see, I do like this. It is great motivation and backstory for our main villain. Riju also surprisingly empathizes by relating it back to herself from a few years ago, where she was also so desperate and willing to try and do anything to save Yuna. It all works incredibly well. The only downside to it being this is close to the end of the game now, and we've had very little from Shiyun himself. The game spent so long trying to bait and switch us with this whole Tidus mystery that by the time the cat was out the bag, it left us with no time at all to actually care about Shiyun or Len. We never even got to see them together really. It's just really hard for me to be invested in him as a character. I think they would have done so much better if they dropped this whole Tidus act. Just have it be Shiyun from the get-go. Let us spend time with him. Build him up as a credible villain, whilst all the while getting this backstory drip-fed to us to humanize him. It would have worked for me personally so much better than what we have here. And speaking of Shiyun, there's only one thing left to do, and that's to return to the far plane to lend a hand to Nuge and Gipple in actually taking him and Vegnagun down. When we do eventually make it to our final fight, we do have this great moment with Yuna after she hears Nuge's plan to sacrifice himself.
I don't like your plan. It sucks. Your plan is awful. Think about it. It's no different than what we did 2 years ago. We destroyed our own allies. We destroyed the Aeons who had fought together with us at our side. We didn't have a choice then. We believed that was the only way we could save Spira. Do you know what it felt like to watch them die? Right before my eyes. It was the only thing we could do. It was the only choice we had. I gave in, I accepted, I believed. I allowed it to be true. I thought I'd be able to go through with it without ever doubting myself. But it hurt so much.
Forgive us.
Everyone was so happy. Great job, Yuna. You did it. You saved us all. There were too many smiles to count. And I know that I was smiling too. But now, when I look back, the people who should be here aren't. The ones who should be smiling with me aren't here.
We had no choice.
We had no choice. Always we had no choice. Those are our magic words. We repeat them to ourselves again and again, but you know, the magic never worked. The only thing we're left with is regret.
Yuna, I'm sorry.
No. I don't want this anymore.
this is just beautiful. It really is the pinnacle of everything Yuna has been dealing with, even from 10, all in this one scene. The people pleaser, the sacrificer, the fake smiles to hide the immense loss. It's just so wonderfully worded and realised here. Now, as for the final fight itself, it isn't all that much to write home about. We continuously fight parts of Vegnagun until eventually making it to Shuyin, who weirdly just uses a lot of Tidus's fight animations, leading credence to my whole "let's just use the assets we have" point I made earlier. Once we beat him and Len finally share a moment after all these years, and they can finally rest. One final scene, showing the faction trio giving a "we are all in this together" type speech, and Yuna flying away onto her next adventure, and we are done. That was Final Fantasy X-2. Well, we're not actually done there though, because we have one more thing to do and discuss. Something I'm sure you've all been waiting for: completion. As we need to hit 100% completion for something very special, and there's just so much to cover with this that I simply cannot get to it all. So let me try and sum up why I hate this so much. Let's start with quite the hefty side quest, Vio Purifico. 100 floors you have to tackle in Bevel, which harbours some of the game's toughest fights. Now let's just get into that whilst I bring it up, because again, the fighting in this game is god awful. I've spoke about it before, about its speed, but it's the difficulty spikes you'll be experiencing throughout that I really do feel like it's its biggest setback. Fights will either be stupid easy, or seemingly impossible and unfair. There's just no in-between, there's no balance. You'll notice this even as early as Chapter 1, as all fights would typically be a complete breeze with it being very early doors, and then suddenly, boom, you'll get demolished in Macalania Forest. By Chapter 3, this difficulty flip-flop will become more of a main staple of the combat, and I think part of it also comes down to the dresses. Look, I do really enjoy them, but the game finds it difficult to synergize them. Very few dress spheres have decent stats, and some spheres just come with such must-have abilities that it become impossible to ever switch from them. All of this, mixed in with this weird difficulty spikes, can make for the player never truly feel like they get any stronger. I mean, look at my level 99 Yuna with her starting dress sphere here. 1700 HP, 39 defense, 6 evasion. Is this a joke? The game heavily relies on accessories to help boost these stats to anything worth a damn, but even that comes with heavy setbacks. Namely, just how hard it can be to even find these useful accessories, and the fact that the girls can only equip 2 at a time is just not enough to make you feel powerful. Now don't get me wrong, some of this side content has been, well, not fun to play, but it at least comes with great payoffs. I'm a sucker for 10, so of course catching up with Waka and Lulu and eventually meeting their newborn was beautiful. I loved the Ronso and the Guado conflict. I even like Donna and Bartello reconciling. And there's this great payoff to collecting all the Crimson Spheres too. You not only view what happened to Pain and the future faction leader trio, but you can visit the Den of Woe and experience the very thing that led the Crimson Squad to their demise, which, as it turns out, was once again Shuyin. He even manages to play into the girls' fears and negative emotions here to get them to fight one another. It's a fantastic piece that I wish wasn't locked away behind these secret spheres and locations, as it really could have set him up to show how dangerous a threat he is. The trouble with a lot of this side content though, especially when going for completion, is just how specific it can be. I seriously don't know how they thought anybody was actually going to accomplish some of the stuff in this game. This isn't a simple case of just do all the content, open all the chests, clear out all the secret dungeons or anything like that. These are things like make sure you speak to that one specific NPC back on Chapter 1. You get no other chance to do this, so if you miss it, you won't even know you missed it until the very end where you will get 99.9% completion. And that's just one example in a myriad of them. There's countless NPCs that you need to randomly interact with multiple times on multiple chapters. There's also random actions you need to do that seem pointless, all for it to have a payoff later in the game. Take the Hypello on the ship for example. Not only is he a shop, but he also acts as a rest spot, which is the most useless function in the game. The only reason you would need to rest is to recover HP and MP, but touching a save spear would do just that. Resting in the airship beds are completely pointless. But the game expects you to rest here once every chapter, just for a small scene to pay off at the very end. How would a player know to do that though? Even if they rested there for whatever reason back in chapter 1, it gives you no hints to do that every chapter. It plays no scene, so why would they continue to do so? It's decisions like this that truly aggravate me when it comes to this game, because how else were you expected to complete it without a guidebook on hand? And to add insult to injury, I even read stories of guidebooks not even being that helpful. Because there's so many minute and pointless things the game asks of you, even the writers of these guidebooks didn't put them all in, or just forgot some. So there's threads after threads after threads of people saying that they followed guides to still end up without 100% completion. I had 3 different guides open during this playthrough, and even then, it was touch and go whether I would even accomplish 100%. In fact, I had to complete this game twice, because my first time beating the game, credits roll, it said I had 100%, but the final cutscene didn't play out. Want to know why? Because I didn't press a button during this final scene to make Yuna whistle, which also adds on to the 100% completion. It's asinine. It's aggravating. It's the biggest FU to players I have ever seen. And all for what? Okay, so I know this has split the fan base. There's players out there that love this, as who wouldn't? Of course we want Tidus and Yuna reunited. We love them. We want them to be happy together. But for me, and for some of the fan base out there, it just takes away from the emotional sacrifice of 10. Because 10 is a tragedy. It is a doomed love story a la Romeo and Juliet, with themes of grief and dealing with the cycle of death. I get that we all like a happy ending, but 10 was never meant to be happy. So I find it insulting that a schlocky, terrible sequel comes out that tries to retcon all of that. And what is worse is that it drags its entire runtime dangling this happy ending in front of fans, all to lock it behind the ludicrous completion criteria, just to give them this cheap happy ending. I'm sorry, but I just hate this. And I really do dislike 10-2 as a whole. Sure, it has its moments. It does have a lot of resolutions for other characters that I do enjoy, like Waka and Lulu and even Kamari. But the combat, the incessant dangling of the Tidus reunion to cheaply tug at the invested player's heartstrings. Brother, it's bad side content. It's terrible difficulty spikes. Brother, the lack of stakes. The lack of investment in our main villain and the new faction leaders. Its horrific completion requirements, its undoing of the emotional impact and message of 10, and worst of all, Brother, all just outweigh the good that I see in this for me personally. So thank you all for watching and for making it this far. I hope you enjoyed another deep dive into the Final Fantasy world. I'm sure I'll cover a lot more of these in the future. If you do want to keep the conversation going, please do so in the comments below. You know I love replying to you all, especially about 10. Let me know how you feel about 10 too. Also, do not forget to like and subscribe. It really does help with the channel and helps you guys out too. It makes sure that you never miss a video. But until next time, take care.